Let's take a wider look now at the challenges facing Donald Trump. Joining me is Peter Mathews, a professor of political science at Cypress College in California. Thanks very much for being with us. So a number of setbacks, as we've alluded to there, for Trump. There's 2 Supreme Court rulings against him and the allegations in the Bolton book. Just to start off with the Bolton book, what would you say is most damaging that's come out of that?
It certainly seems that when it rains, it pours, doesn't it? He's getting a lot of rain on him right now. What's damaging is that Bolton had served in many administrations, the Republican administration, starting with President Reagan. He's got some credibility. He was the UN ambassador. He's national security advisor for Trump. So what his claims that were made, the most remarkable one was that he asked the Chinese leader, President Xi, to help him with the re-election by pursuing a certain policy. Please buy some more wheat and soybeans for my farmers in the Midwest. In other words, so I can get the Electoral College votes. That is a clear violation of the spirit of the law of keeping foreign influence out of our elections. If it wasn't the actual letter of the law, he's violated the spirit of the law. And that's very damaging. And many people, well, I say voters in the middle of the road might swing against Trump based on some of these allegations that Bolton has made, and they're very remarkable ones.
So you mentioned the people in the middle of the road possibly swinging to him. What about any Republicans? Are they likely to turn against him with any of these revelations?
Yes, there are certain Republicans. In fact, they've set up some political action committees that are doing ads against President Trump. And these are the Never Trump Republicans, the ones who believe in a more sane Republican approach to politics, to foreign policy especially. And they feel this president is just completely out of his league and incompetent in running the country's domestic and foreign policies. And these Republicans have come out against him, and they are campaigning against him. And I think this book just adds more fuel to the fire.
What about the relationship with Pompeo that emerges in the book? I mean, it seems as though although they have a kind of united front in public, according to Bolton, Pompeo is quite rude about Trump behind his back, isn't he?
He certainly is, and if the allegation that Bolton is true, that Pompeo passed him a note saying that Trump is full of, and I don't want to say the word on TV, but you know what I'm talking about, then it's pretty remarkable that the Secretary of State who pretends or acts to be in unity with President Trump outwardly is saying these things about him behind his back. And other people have said it too, according to Bolton, these kinds of negative derogatory remarks about the president's capabilities of running the country and of being even interested in government, not interested in government.
What about, just briefly staying on the Bolton, how difficult is it for them to argue that, on the one hand, that this is classified stuff, so it ought not to be published, but on the other hand, it's not true?
Quite paradoxical, isn't it? But the Supreme Court will be unlikely to issue any kind of prior restraint order on stopping the book, because that's anathema to freedom of speech and freedom of press. And I believe that it sounds contradictory when they say you stop this publication, there's national security information in there, and then, oh, well, it's not really true, he's lying about things, it's just a bunch of nonsense. So they are trying to have it both ways, and it's not going to work with most of the public, especially those voters in those swing states who might go the other way.
And tell me about the Supreme Court ruling, this latest one on the Dreamers. How much of a political effect will that have on Trump?
That's a big effect, because that was one of the central planks, is to basically stop the Dreamers from having safety in this country. They were not born here, but they grew up here, and their families brought them here without them even knowing. And these are really like American citizens. And Trump was adamant to show he doesn't want these people here. He doesn't want immigrants coming in, including undocumented workers. And this is one of his key planks, to build a wall. And this ruling of the court, in which 2 of the appointees are his own appointees, remind you, is quite remarkable against his particular egregious principle of keeping these young people from having a real life. So it's a big blow to him, in my view. And let's see how it goes from now on, though.
Peter Mathews, Professor Peter Mathews, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.